The former Lakers star is that rumors are circulating in Dallas that the Mavs are trying to trade Davis. Another example of how the AD Luka Doncic trade has not worked out for the Mavs at all. The Clippers are also at home Friday night. They play Memphis. A follow-up note on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Previous starting quarterback Dylan Gabriel cleared the concussion protocol on Monday, but Browns coach Kevin Stefanski opted to keep Sanders as his number one quarterback. Deion's son will start Sunday against San Francisco. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe, and you're locked into KBLA Talk 1580. And tonight, first up, happy night before Thanksgiving. Tonight, we are going with a Front Row Wednesday. So tonight, I have interviews coming with some of your favorites. First up, on Sunday, a new season of Bravo's Married to Medicine will be dropping, and we have an interview with Dr. Contessa. She is a main cast member this season, and we talked to her about that transition, her relationship with Dr. Heavenly, and more. You don't want to miss that. We've also got Brandon Clayborn. He is one of the stars of CBS's Beyond the Gates. Yes, daytime drama is alive, messy, and thriving with a beautiful Black cast. So we talked to him about his role and how it is breaking barriers, even in a soap opera that is breaking barriers. And we're closing the night with the creatives behind Black is Beautiful, the Kwame Brathwaite Story. This documentary is keeping one of our most important cultural legacies alive, and it's also giving some history to where the phrase Black is Beautiful started. Hint, it's in the 60s, but it's not just the story that you may have heard. So before we get into all of that, of course, I got to leave you with a couple of conversation starters. First up, shout out to the Nipsey Hussle Foundation. They fed 2,500 families in a holiday giveaway that was led by the late rapper's brother, Black Sam. And it took place at the original Marathon store. And, you know, big ups to them for still keeping it real and holding on to Nipsey's legacy. Also, shout out to Summer Walker. Her Finally Over It has the highest debut for any female R&B artist this year. It placed at number 2 on the Billboard 200 chart. And congratulations. I guess all the drama was worth it. So sit back. We're going to get into those interviews. Grab your pre-Thanksgiving snacks and enjoy.
Your ride with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
From KBLA Talk 1580. It is amazing to speak with you all today. First of all, can I just say, as a baby born in the 1900s, I really appreciated this piece and the art. I took photography as a teen, and got to develop stuff in the dark room. So I loved hearing that part of the story and just his story. And, I think about how expensive was film and things at that time, and the fact that he was just doing this initially starting out for the love. But I'm jumping ahead. Let me dial this back. We are talking with the creatives of Black is Beautiful, the Kwame Brathwaite Story. And it is an amazing documentary about his photojournalism work and his story to bring it to light. So I want to start with Kwame and Robin. When you came across the photos and started developing the idea that, wow, this, again, needs to be brought forth, what were the conversations like between the two of you before you went and spoke with your father about bringing all of this together in some form or fashion?
I think for me, we tell that story about them visiting us and him having those two images that really kind of, that we were almost observers to what was happening and that we had to get involved.
Yeah.
And so having that understanding that, like, wow, he has this entire collection that we really don't have an idea of what the depth and breadth of it is. And really, interestingly enough, even going through this work for the last 13 years, we've learned a bunch, but even working with the film team, we learned even more, right? Because of their amazing research and the work that they did to kind of uncover things. It's one of those things where you're like, wow, we didn't understand it. It wasn't like fully something we understood until we really started getting into the work. And for us,
I think we just had the epiphany at the same time, really. And just really, it's after seeing those two photos that we both were like, okay, we need to do something, because we lived in New York, and we would go to, some of Baba's shows and everything like that. But it was mostly a lot of the celebrities that that he had in his exhibits. And so, fast forward, we moved back to LA. And we see those photos when they're visiting us. That's when it was like, wait a minute, this is different from the other photos that we had seen. And so that's when we started to delve more into the archive. And then that's when we started to discover more of the images that are related to the Black is Beautiful movement.
Yeah.
So Yemi and Joanna, for you, how did you come into the project, and did you immediately know what they had, what a treasure trove it was, and how you wanted to sort of present it to the world?
I think how this started in terms of our involvement, I think Lizzie Gillett, who's one of the producers and at Misfits, she sent me an email about this project, and I had the book already, and I was like, yeah, this would be amazing, right? And then we sort of went into a period of paid development, and that paid development looked like writing quite an extensive treatment, going to meet Robin and Kwame in California and doing a sizzle. So when I went to meet Robin and Kwame, I got to see some of the archive, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it, right? It was, and it was only some of the archive in their house, but it was just amazing. I couldn't believe I was looking at this stuff that no one had ever seen before. And I think Joanna and I have always spoken about what a privilege it has been making this film to have access to this archive and to see this stuff, right? Kwame was, his work ethic was just unrivaled. He took a lot of pictures. He worked a lot, and the world hasn't seen even like a percentage of the stuff that he took. So I think for us to kind of like jump into that and sort of like get an understanding of like how his taste changed and how his style changed and sort of like the way that he navigated like his creative endeavors, in the Apollo taking pictures or in the street or sort of like going to Africa, going to the continent. It was just like so many lives, and this was all sort of like represented in the archive. So I think, yeah, just like seeing the archive was just like the beginning of all of this, and sort of like trying to work out how we're going to use all of this stuff was just, it was a huge challenge, but like a challenge that we were just really excited about.
It was something that also like as we worked on it, we began to understand the magnitude of the task at hand. We as Yemi went to meet Kwame and Robin, and then I went a couple of months later and I had my own kind of realization that this is very much a tip of the iceberg and overwhelmed by the color and the breadth of photography that was available to us to use and to condense into 90 minutes. And every time we went back and every time we spoke and every time negatives or photos were sent to us digitally, we were like, oh, there's more. Oh, there's loads more. There's so many, it's like Yemi says, there were so many different lives, and it was an absolute privilege to be welcomed into that. But it was a huge task, and it took a while for us to really come to grips with how huge it was.
So kind of along those lines, Kwame's work, there's a level of intention and intimacy that you can see through the film, through the photos, the texture and depth. Which image sort of solidified all of that for you, if there is just one? And I'm actually asking all of you that, so...
That's such a good question. For me, it sort of like changes like all the time. Like I love Dee Dee in the car, the grandasses, and like just the images, and just every time I look at that image I see something different, and I think that's not a unique thing to Kwame's work. I think that is the beauty of his work, right? Like you look at it and you see one thing, and then you look at it again and you see something else, and you're wondering, you're almost trying to unpack like what's going on in the faces of those characters, of the models, of the people. So I think for me, like now you're asking me, it's Dee Dee in the car, but like tomorrow it could be something else. Like it would be something else, So yeah.
It's the same one for me, simply because I remember, this whole process, it was Kwame bringing negatives back from New York and me, sitting at the home scanner, like just scanning film to see what was on it. And I remember when that popped up on the screen and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on here? And I remember that I was just like, I texted you and I was like, you are not going to believe this, because it's so, it's a powerful image. And sometimes we don't print things like really, we printed like a really big one of that. And it's just to see it, it's just, it's stunning. I love everybody's facial expressions. I love the colors. I love the way they're dressed and the city and everything about it. It's one of my favorites by far. How about you?
Yeah, it's tough and it switches up for me often as well. But I do think like the two images that he had when he came to visit us, because for us to both have the same thought, like we literally look at each other like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. It was and look, we knew he took pictures of celebrities and photographers, but oftentimes, people think it's Black culture. He only took pictures of Black people. That's not the case, right? And so to see the Righteous Brothers, David Bowie, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Roberta Flack backstage at the Grammys, that was one that also changed. It's like, oh wow, there's a whole nother aspect of this that we're not actually paying attention to. And then we look at that picture of Ali, because all the pictures of Ali, he's like being Ali, he's being handsome and charming and debonair and all those different things and funny, and to catch him in that pensive moment, just sitting, it's just a beautiful, striking image. I remember going to New York to get that image. I remember they got the negative and they're like, oh, we have the negative of that image. I was like, oh, I need that right away.
Yeah.
So I literally flew there, grabbed that, some other images, and it came back the same day. Like I did a red eye, flew there, had breakfast with them,
for something.
came back, had dinner, and it was actually on Mother's Day, so I got to spend time with both Robin and my mom. But it was just this amazing. They're just so captivating oftentimes, and it makes you think like, what was happening? And then even in the film, they located the footage of them
so
walking
amazing.
through right for that
We
shot.
had never seen that before.
It was just like mind blowing. So there's so many images, but I think those two for us, look, it's my father, it's her father-in-law, but for her to be fully on board and to be like, yes, I'm in this with you, the impact that had to have had on both of us is really, it meant so much.
Yeah. And this work is rewarding, but it's a lot. And it was like a steep learning curve for us because we're not artists. And so to jump into this, I wouldn't change a thing, but we've learned, a ton, and we are so incredibly grateful for the relationships with the people that we have in our lives that have, just helped us along the way. And we hope to pay that forward one day.
Yeah.
I know what image you're going to say.
Oh, well, actually, there is an image that I tend to answer with, which is, I'm not sure if it's Cannonball Adderley, but it's the really early photography of Kwame's. And there is a man, and I think he's smoking a cigar, and it's black and white, and it's silhouetted. And that was one of the first images that stuck in my mind when I really had a chance to dig into the archives and I read the book. But when you asked me that question just now, another image popped into my head, and it's one that we use in the film that is the street photography. And there's a group of boys who are playing, I think, in Harlem, and they're really like running to the frame, and they've just posed, as like a group of prepubescent boys would. And it's such a loving photo. It's a photo of someone who could only, Kwame could only have taken a photo like that if he really knew and loved his community, and that of all the things that I think of when I think of him, it's all sort of coalesced in that image. It's an understanding of the boys, of the joy of blackness, of the joy of Harlem, of what it means to be comfortable in the streets that he lived in. And also the composition as well. It's just a really pleasing image. It's a really satisfying image to look at. So that's my favorite at the moment. It will change. It's such a beautiful photo.
So I love that because I'm a person who my favorites change depending upon the day because it all, right? But along those lines, you mentioned how Kwame connected with his subjects, especially in the street photography. And we hear the phrase Black is beautiful. And we know for decades it's been remixed, commercialized, but he was actually living it day to day before it was a thing. So can you talk a little bit about bringing that spirit into the film and making sure that that message was shown and how you approach that?
Is that for us?
Yeah, that's probably, I think, for us, it's just trying to get to the truth, right, of these images. And I think that's what always was his goal, right? Bringing that image so that you feel like we all feel when we're talking about these images. You can see like people's response and how they like smile and light up when they're thinking about the work. So I think for us, it was just making sure that, it was up to the quality standards that we always have and making sure that we provide the right images to the team so that they can work with them, because I couldn't imagine getting from what we, started going through to where we are now, and just the succinct, beautiful storytelling that, the team did. And so I think just making sure that we provided them with the imagery to tell the story that they wanted to tell. So I think that was important for us.
So for you, Yemi and Joanna, the archive is massive, so to speak. How did you decide what images to start with and where you wanted to sort of focus the frame and vision before you expanded out? Because there's so many different ways you could have opened. So what was your sort of thesis on that aspect?
You take that.
I mean, it's. I think to begin with, there wasn't necessarily any rhyme or reason, really. We just wanted to get into the physical archive and see as much as possible before whittling it down. It was always, we always wanted to see everything, which is, you know, it's an impossible thing, but as much as possible, just so that we could kind of absorb, you know, Kwame's work and try and get a sense of who he was as a person through the things that he chose to cast his camera on. But yeah, we didn't necessarily go into the archive with a sense of exactly what it is we wanted. That sense became a lot keener in the edit, like way into the edit, once we had an idea of who we thought maybe Kwame was as a person and what we understood to be the course of his life. Then we said, okay, maybe based on that, these are the images that we ought to really focus on, or the kinds of images, right, that we ought to focus on. And that's when we started to whittle it down. But it took a while to even get to that stage, you know, because it was how many, like 500,000 negatives that we'd saying. It's just, there was so many. And we wanted to not count anything out.
Yeah.
You know, he lived such a rich life, it deserved that treatment.
So along those lines, Jesse Williams, Gabrielle Union, Alicia Keys, they're all featured. I remember Jesse talking about having a portrait of Kwame, your mother, in his children's room, and Gabrielle mentioned one of his street portraits that she has in her kitchen. So talk about how you selected who would have a voice in this, sort of from the celebrity, you know, side, and how you chose them and what was it like, you know, speaking with them about Kwame's art.
Yeah, I kind of go back to the treatment and sort of like go back to research. I think that all of those people in the film, they're not just in there because of who they are. They're in there because of the connection that they have to Robin and Kwame, and the connection that they have to the work. They own pieces of the work. They've supported the work. They understand the magnitude and the spirit of the work. So it always made sense that they, you know, would talk about the work in the film. You know, like all of those people are in the treatment. So it's kind of amazing that they're also in the film, because I've written lots of treatments and I've put people in there and like they haven't ended up in the film. So yeah, like it's amazing that, you know, they sort of supported this film and supported Kwame and Robin, and it's Kwame and Robin's relationship with them that, you know, that's how they were able to get into the film. And like when you listen to them speak, it's like, you know, they're speaking with authority. They understand the magnitude of this work and what it means to them. You know, it's not, none of this is a fluff piece. You know, we didn't just pluck sort of like celebrities to put them in the work. The rule was, it's just like, can they speak to the work? And they all can, you know. So that was sort of, yeah, how we ended up with getting those amazing people in our film.
Yeah, we were blessed that they were just naturally part of the story.
Yeah,
you know, there was no, it wasn't contrived at all. It was just to tell the story, they needed to be in it. And that is it's a rare thing that, again, it just speaks to how, you know, varied and amazing Kwame's life was, that these people were able to, towards the end of it, tell a significant portion of his life. It's just, as filmmakers, it was a blessing, just to be able to tell such a story, the story of someone's life with so many different elements.
Mm.
So yeah, I feel like they're almost, you know, when you think about Ajax and the Grandassa models and how they had Miles Davis and Max Roach and Abby Lincoln and all these people that helped them kind of disseminate the message, I almost look at them as those extensions that we have now, because in every situation, you know, Jesse co-curated a show of my father's work in 2018 after learning of the work and acquiring the work and then having it on Grey's Anatomy. And, you know, they really believe in the work and the work that was done. And like he said, like, how did he miss? But, you know, everyone missed because he was busy doing the work, right? And, you know, even Alicia and Swiss coming on as executive producers, that was because they wanted to make sure that the work was amplified in a way, because they really believe and love the work. And so those things were all natural. It was they had something to say and they had a direct connection, like Emmy said, and that's why they were part of it. It wasn't, we were trying to like pick superstars that, it wouldn't mean anything if they just sat there and just like, were talking heads. But I think what they provided was that personal connection and the stories. And I learned a lot about them, even stuff that we hadn't talked about when I've, spoken to them. And so it was really beautiful to hear those things.
So kind of along those lines and closing out, this was an undiscovered story for many. And now we have this rich, beautiful heritage to look onto, through many formats. And obviously, I love art. I'm sure people do too. How can people, if available, purchase any of the prints or the actual ones? How can they do that and sort of continue spreading his work and the beauty of it to, future generations and pass that along?
Well, I think, for us, a lot of these works are available. Most of the works in the film, they got to those collectors because we do work through our gallery, Philip Martin Gallery in Los Angeles. And so those works are available, and not everybody can buy fine art pieces. And so the way I say it is like, find a way to engage, right? Get the book, buy a work. We're with the archive, we're going to start releasing some kind of archive specific works that are, not necessarily in the fine art space, but like things that people can appreciate so that more people can participate in this work. And just looking at collaborative projects that bring it to the masses, because he was always about bringing this to the people. How can we reach more people? And so I think the fine art space is one way, but I think going to an exhibit, reading a book, watching the documentary, telling your friends about it, those are the things that I think people can engage and participate. And, like we said, we have a show up at Art and Practice. There's a show coming up at MoMA. We'll be at the Getty. So there are group shows that are happening where people can kind of engage and get to know us and follow us on Instagram. And then the 501c3. We have a 501c3, the Kwame Brathwaite Archive, where people can either donate or find a way to kind of like continue. It's about preservation, education, and elevation. So preserving the work, educating people about it, and then helping the next generation reach their goals.
What's the Instagram? You can't just say Instagram and not give the Instagram.
All right. At Kwame B Photo is the Instagram that I kind of run personally that's about the work. And then there's also at Kwame Brathwaite Archive. Okay. So those are the Instagrams that we use.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking this time to talk to me where we currently are, where physical media is so important for, preserving our story, making sure the truth gets out there. Films like this are important not only to document what has happened, but to serve as a map for how we should utilize it going forward. So I appreciate you all for that.
Are you ready for the hottest entertainment scoop in Los Angeles? She's bringing you exclusive interviews with today's biggest stars, behind-the-scenes Hollywood insights, and all the entertainment news you need to know. She's breaking down what's trending, what's ending, and what's just beginning in the world of entertainment. You're riding with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. For the first time, a pope is marking an American Thanksgiving. Chicago native Pope Leo celebrated early in Italy before heading to Turkey for the holiday.
To recognize that we all have received so many gifts. First and foremost, the gift of life.
With about 3 million black Catholics in the U.S., he's urging people to reflect on the gifts of life, faith, and unity. And the 2020 Georgia election interference case against President Trump is over. A judge dropped the charges, and Trump's team says the political persecution by former DA Fani Willis, who is black, is done after she was removed over her relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. And black Senator Cory Booker says Democrats need a tough conversation after failing his generation. He wants the party to refocus on economic issues that impact everyday people and reach marginalized voters on platforms like TikTok. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. The Lakers are back in action Friday night at home against the Dallas Mavericks. It'll be the first opportunity for Lakers fans to get a look at #1 draft pick Cooper Flagg, the new face of the Mavericks franchise. Lakers fans will unlikely see Anthony Davis. Davis is hurt again with a strained calf. He hasn't played since October 29th. Making things even more unsettling for the former Lakers star is that rumors are circulating in Dallas that the Mavs are trying to trade Davis. Another example of how the AD Luka Doncic trade has not worked out for the Mavs at all. The Clippers are also at home Friday night. They play Memphis. A follow-up note on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Previous starting quarterback Dylan Gabriel cleared the concussion protocol on Monday, but Browns coach Kevin Stefanski opted to keep Sanders as his #1 quarterback. Deion's son will start Sunday against San Francisco. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Cedars-Sinai is helping shape the future of Los Angeles, working alongside local communities and showing up with resources and healthcare programs that open doors for people across the city. Through career development programs like Next Gen Healthcare Pathways and partnerships with over 200 organizations like Black Men in White Coats, Cedars-Sinai is educating and empowering future healthcare leaders right here in LA. With access to education, mentorships, and hands-on experiences, we can build a healthier Los Angeles together. Cedars-Sinai, here for LA. Head to the Skirball Cultural Center for a thought-provoking contemporary art exhibition, Draw Them In, Paint Them Out. Trenton Doyle Hancock confronts Philip Guston. Explore resonant connections between the work of American Jewish painter Philip Guston and the work of Trenton Doyle Hancock, a leading Black American contemporary artist, in dialogue for the first time. While engaging with the artwork, consider the role that artists play in the pursuit of social justice. Plan your visit at skirball.org.
You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Cool. Brandon, it's a pleasure to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
So let's start right off with Beyond the Gates, because this show is not only legacy inducing just because of the scope, the subject matter with the all Black cast, and you guys are beautiful and it's glamorous and it's scandalous and all of the things. So when you first got the script, with the soap being centered on Black legacy, a little bit of history, love, all of those things, what immediately attracted you?
Honestly, even before I got the script, I saw the Deadline article that came out early, maybe the first quarter of 2024. And immediately when I saw it, I sent an email to my manager and I told him, I think that this show could be something historical. And I told him I need to be a part of this. And he said, okay, we don't have a synopsis. We don't know any of the characters. We don't have a breakdown. I was like, I just feel it in my spirit that this is something that's going to be remarkable, and hopefully I can be a part of it. And now, fast forward, we're here. So,
so it's not your grandma's soap opera at all. It's fresh, has some new things, but certainly those throwbacks to it. Talk to me a little bit about your character and your introduction in this world.
My character, Martin Richardson, is a congressman who's following in the footsteps of his grandfather, who was a senator. Martin is also married with kids, 2 adopted kids that him and Smitty adopted when they were 10 and 11. And basically, Martin has been going through a lot of things in the last 2.5 years with his grandfather being assaulted on a country back road by 2 racist gentlemen. And Martin had to pretty much lay hands on both of these people and but keep this from his husband and his family because of the politics of it. And it's really played a huge part on his lifestyle for the last 2 years. And he's really just coming out of it now, being that his husband finally knows the truth.
So, on that lines, soap operas have always been the place where sort of groundbreaking stories, pushing ahead ideas start off first, where they kind of travel into mainstream. So, with that sort of as a backdrop, what were your thoughts when you read about the character and kind of learned the journey that he was going to be going on? And it's not first, but I mean, bringing in, a gay couple into the soap thing, one of the first storylines for that started on soap. So what does it feel like to continue that through line and learn about this journey?
Um, it's amazing to be a part of this cast and to be playing this role, specifically because I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for the LGBTQIA plus community. And I know a lot of my friends that I grew up with in Los Angeles have passed on. And I know that they're looking down and just so proud that I'm able to represent them. And seriously, for me, I think just knowing that representation matters and that it's touching so many different people from all walks of life. I've gone to DC, New Orleans, New York, Los Angeles, Memphis. I'm living in Atlanta right now. People stop me every single day just saying that I see myself in you. So that means a great deal in itself. And I'm just happy to be a part.
So I love that. So I heard you say you grew up in LA. As an LA native, I got to stop you and ask you what part of LA you grew up in, what high school.
Well, actually, I moved there when I was 20. So okay. I went to CSUN out in Northridge.
Shout out to CSUN. What are they? The Toradors? Can't remember their mascot. Matadors, maybe.
The Matadors.
Okay.
I think it's the Matadors. Hopefully they don't kill me. But as soon as I finished school, I lived right in Hollywood. So I was there for 14 years, actually.
Okay. Wow, I like that. All right. So a native by the length. We'll give you some length on that.
Exactly.
So you've played everything from doctors to lawyers, now a politician. What is it about the DNA and finding heroism, so to speak, in some of these roles? Because they are archetypes for, those that are in our community that are helping, touching people. So what has kind of been your journey throughout that in these different roles?
Well, for me in my personal life, I feel like I'm a leader. And a lot of my roles have been people that are connected with community, people that influence, inspire. And to be honest, I think that's what my passion is in real life. But I don't want to call them heroes because at the end of the day, they're just people. They're people that are respected in their field, but at the same time, they have their flaws as well. And I think once you connect with them on a human level, that's the most important. Because if we try to put them on a pedestal too high above, we don't see that in ourselves. So I think with these characters, you can really touch people by letting them know, hey, I go through the same things that you go through each and every day. So I don't want anyone to think that the roles that I play are this grand scheme of being a hero and saving the world. No, it's see yourself in me and save yourself.
You're a part of, when people enter the Tyler Perry universe, it's like preparation because those fans are passionate, they are dedicated, they, know everything. So how is being been being a part of that fan base, that experience helped to kind of shape you for navigating fame, storytelling, all of the things?
Well, not even just the fame of it all, it's the work ethic that goes into the Tyler Perry Studios productions. Tyler shoots in a way that I wasn't accustomed to in Los Angeles. You know, sometimes episodes could take 1 or 2 weeks just for one episode. In the Tyler Perry world, they shoot a lot faster. You know, sometimes you could do a whole series, 20, 22 episodes in 2 or 3 weeks. So I think for me personally, that experience with Tyler Perry really honed my skills for Beyond the Gates, because, you know, we work a lot. You know, we're reading scripts that are 100 pages every single day. You know, we're learning lines every single day. So I think I started working with Tyler maybe in 2023. So it only prepared me for this role on Beyond the Gates. And so I'm always grateful.
So where we are today, there's a growing conversation where we see the leading man sort of redefined, so to speak, and you're definitely part of that. So can you tell me emotionally, spiritually, and visually, how do you see yourself expanding the next generation of leading men?
How do I see myself expanding? The next generation. Let me just say this. I'm an actor, yes, and that's what I do. But deep down, I know that's not necessarily my passion in life. My passion has always been to inspire, encourage, uplift others. And I think with me being an actor and being on a show like Beyond the Gates, it only enlarges my territory on how many people that I can touch. And that's, like I was telling you earlier, going from all of these different cities and traveling the world and meeting people, just that human connection. I hope it influences people to be nice, to be kind, and to show others, if you have dreams and goals, you can do it. It starts with a thought in your head, and then get real specific on what you want. Ask God, universe, your higher power to protect you, and go full force, because anything that you want in this life, you can have.
Absolutely amazing. I love your positivity. Okay, last question in wrapping up. 5 years from now, what would you want a headline to say about Brandon and his career, where it's at?
A headline?
A headline.
A headline. Actor Brandon Clayborn takes on the world. That's it.
Sticking to your creed of being inspiring and
uplifting and encouraging, all those good things. All right.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I love the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Your ride with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, Dr. Contessa. I'm Jill Munroe. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. How are you?
I'm amazing, and I'm in love with the art behind you. Like, oh my goodness. Everything. Beautiful, beautiful background.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, starting off, you decided to expand your practice this season, right?
Yes.
And you're filming. What was the decision that brought you to the idea that this is the exact moment I need to expand?
Well, I've actually been quietly doing it for the past couple of years. We've been cash flowing this expansion. We purchased a building in 2023, and actually, interestingly enough, Audra from a few seasons ago was our closing attorney. And so, the thing we did differently though is we tried to do it from we self-financed, we cash flowed it, and so I kind of had to take away from some of the other things that I wanted in my life to invest in myself, because again, I was thinking legacy building, have to do something that is going to be sustainable, right? Generations to come. Again, if I like my kids and they're going to get it, but if not, then, I'm gonna leave it to charity or something like that. Leave it to my colleges and my med school. But I digress. But it was just time, right? I mean, we work so hard. I work probably on average about 60 to 80 hours a week. And I do it for other people, right? I do it for not always for myself. And I felt like it was also important to believe in myself. My parents sacrificed very, very hard in order to make sure that I knew what my value was. But it took me 49 years to kind of believe it for myself enough to say, you know what, let me go ahead and do this. Let me hang up this shingle, buy this land, and know that this is actually a place that if I build it, they will come.
Well, congratulations.
We all have self-doubt. That's the thing. I think we all have self-doubt. We all deal with imposter syndrome and always wonder is like, am I enough, or is it going to work out? And you know what? Ultimately, you just have to say, you know what? Why not? Why not you? Why would someone else be successful and be able to do it and you can't? So yeah. So
again, big congratulations on that, because that is not a small undertaking. So along those lines, right, you and Dr. Heavenly have had a roller coaster relationship, up and down,
yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
What was the moment, or what was the thing that made you decide, you know what, this friendship is worth salvaging and exploring what's there, and if it can be pulled back together?
Well, believe it or not, I'm an empath, and life be lifing. And you're probably the first person who asked me that. So one thing I don't do is kick people when they're down. And I think this was a tough year for her, right? And she's gone through some pivotal emotional journeys. And one thing about this group is that we can put aside petty differences for when somebody needs, support. And I think this year in particular, she needs a little bit of support. And so I think the easier thing would have been to been like, aha, I told you so, or, just wait, because everybody's turn comes around. Like, you can stand in judgment of other people, but when it's your turn, then you're gonna need a friend. And so that was one of I say for me, the moments that I had to kind of self-reflect and say, who am I really? Like, what kind of core values do I have? And if I've been in a place of weakness and vulnerability, that is when I kind of need somebody to kind of put aside what, they're going through. Because I'll say this year has been good for me. Like, because of what you just said, I actually am kind of on the other side of going through it. Now, life started lifing again, but I know that God shows people grace when you show grace to other people. And so that's what kind of happened. And I just knew she needed a friend.
The facts as far as grace and standing up. So you brought up the friend group. Is there anything that you are going to do differently as far as approaching friendships with this friend group? Because it loves hard, but there's petty and messy, and we know that as an audience. But for you, is there any way that you approach friendships differently going in?
I think so. I think I try to find the commonality, and I try really hard not to get stuck, right? In this friend group, you will see that sometimes for years and years, and I've done it before. Me and Toya were stuck for several years, but Toya is probably one of the friends that I value the most in this group. But had we not been able to get to the other side, then it would have been, for me, a wasted opportunity, because I get a lot from my friendship with Toya. And I think that's how I approach the friend group more than I do. I think some of the other ladies will like to hold on to the petty mess, and you're just like, man, get out of your own way. Because then you find too that you're a part of the problem, right? Because then, you move on and you see that there's beauty on this other side. I mean, I say over and over again, I'm almost 50 years old. And if I'm still holding on to some anger from when I was like 40, then good Lord, how much progression have I made, right? And how many blessings are going to come my way? But in this friend group, sometimes we can do that. Sometimes we can get caught up in our own stuff and we'll forget that, man, when you were mad, you started doing stuff to people too. And in this group, we are going through a lot personally, professionally, right? Emotionally. And then even in our friend groups, in friendships, we will hurt each other and we will not even realize that we're hurting one another. So, so we just had to, I think sometimes, you take out what's going on at home on your friends. And I think the more and more you watch the show, because we don't always know what's going on at home, because people don't always tell you. You'll watch the show and you'll kind of have empathy for someone, see what they're going through at home, and then you're like, man, why won't they just tell their friend what's happening? And maybe that'll open up a possibility of them moving forward. But we don't do that really well. We don't always talk about what's really on our heart.
So for you and Toya specifically, how did you become unstuck? Just taking that approach, or was there something that you specifically did in taking steps to make sure that that was something that you were comfortable with?
Another great question. So I think time, right? One thing that happens in this group is we start fixating on other people's problems, and there becomes pressure from other people's like, y'all need to sit down and talk. Y'all need to work it out. But what organically happened is that we were able to kind of spend time together. Our kids are the same age, and then we would see each other out and about, like at a soccer game or something like that. And we find that, man, it's like, this is stupid. Like, we may as well just roll together. We at the same places. We have the same friends. And that's what happened. Like, we just kind of let it organically be. And the stuff we couldn't even remember at one point, like what we fell out about. Now I take it back. Toya's an Aries. She remember everything. You'd be like, bitch, where'd that come from? That was like 10 years ago. But that's what happened. Like, we just like let life move forward, right? And we just didn't get fixated on something that doesn't matter anymore.
So the teaser shows your birthday party as a moment.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the inspiration for the theme and what you wanted your birthday to represent for you this year.
Well, I'm a 70s baby. And so growing up, yeah, you get it. And, Players Ball, like, it was just always just a lot of campy fun, right? Yes, I'll say I kind of rebranded the term players because I feel like all of us now as professionals, like, we're major players in the community, right? I have an endowment in my college and my medical school, and we are just we are the ones who are moving the community forward, right? With our being major players. And so I wanted to kind of rebrand that term and also just get dressed up and actually have a party that is not just everybody just kind of standing around looking at each other, wearing all black or all white for no reason whatsoever, right? So I love a theme. I mean, people always tease me about being very into themes, right? If you tell me we're going to a pool party, I'm wearing my swimming suit and period. Like, I believe what we're saying. So I also wanted to make sure that from a standpoint of people getting excited about the party, they all felt invested. So that was, hopefully visually is going to come across what I was thinking. And I just wanted something big and grand. And I didn't want it just to be a little get together. I wanted it to be a full out ball. And I think I accomplished that feat. So
we will see. We're going to let you know as an audience.
Yes. And I even had live entertainment. So I think you guys will be very shocked to how hard I went all in. I went hard for this party.
It's a moment. Okay. So managing marriage, your practice, expansion, and filming, that's a lot. What did you learn about Contessa through this process? Not Dr. Contessa, but Contessa.
Oh, yeah. I'm a work in progress, right? I always say perfection is a lie and transparency is freedom. And the more and more I talk about my struggles, the more I can open up other people who've been through what I'm going through to tell me, look, let me just cut you to the front of the line. Like, you ain't got to go through this because I did it. But I've learned that I really do need the help and support of my friends, right, to navigate these things. We were not built to be in this world and navigate it alone. But what we can do is sometimes feel isolated in what we're going through. And the more and more I talk about my struggles, I think the more support and lighter I feel. Gone through it all, from anxiety to depression to seriously just feeling just super struggling and not feeling like I could balance and burnt out and all the things. But I know that with help, I can get through anything. And it's always a better day on the other side.
Well, along those lines, we see you ask for help from Dr. Scott. What was that experience like for you?
Well, that seed, you're going to see, okay, so if you use that as the seed, you're going to be like, what the hell happened then? Because this season, it looks different. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to have any spoilers, but I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was capable of, right? Good Lord, I feel like God put a lot on me this year, but I still look good. I survived. I made it. And sometimes you can think that it's your partner that can support you through it, but sometimes just God saying you got to dig deeper and you got to work harder. Not forever, but for this season in our life, I mean, it's been a journey. So again, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I also had to learn, that insanity is expecting the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Whoever you married is going to be that person. Like, right? Don't ever marry somebody and be like, I'm going to change him or he's going to do this and I want him to. No, whoever he was is who he's going to be. Right. So I was expecting some things and it just ain't going to happen. He's going to be who he is. Same guy, same dude I met 25 years ago is going to be the same dude he is today. I think women evolve a lot, but I think men are pretty much the same people they are, probably since they was born. I don't know. We got to ask his mom.
So fans love your authenticity and your transparency. So what was the most difficult truth that you had to sit with for this season?
Oh, man. Good Lord. Sometimes in this group, you'll be like, did I just catch a stray? Like, bitch, where did that come from? And what I've had to kind of sit with is that even if you have the best intentions, people may not always believe that, you don't have an underlying motive, right? Because I think in today's world, like we live in this space of suspicion. Like, what is your ulterior motive? Like, what do you want from me? And so I've had to learn to not just get mad because someone else is mad. If I'm really not mad at you, or if I really don't have a problem, I may have to do a little bit more of the work for us to move forward, right? And I may even have to work a little harder for you to kind of, to get through your bias because I see the value in you. So I'm able to put my ego to the side, I think a little bit more than some of the other ladies, because there are a lot of egos here. But I also see the value of friendships and I see the value of collaboration. And I'll be honest, I do better with help from my friends, right? I want to be able to just send you a text message and be like, okay, what's the answer to this question? I don't want to have to figure it out by myself. And if I see you have already some successes and some things that you've accomplished and you've already kind of been through that journey, I would love to be able just to kind of, I say it again, cut to the front of the line and just, and just get it, as opposed to making it hard on myself and not, just living in ego. But that's what I think I've learned. I used to do that. I used to just, you get smart with me, I'm getting right smart back with you. And now I'm almost 50 years old and I just don't really feel like doing that anymore. I feel like collaboration is key. And I need my friends. Life is harder alone. So.
That's very true. So if you had to give a medical diagnosis to this season, what would it be?
Ooh, good Lord. I would say histrionic. And y'all may have to look that term up. It's just, all over the place sometimes. It's just like, what in the heck is going on here? And I just think, again, it's kind of the sign of the times. Like, people are going through some things and their nerves are right on the edge, their sensitivities are right there. So you will see some overreactions sometimes, but you understand that as time progresses, you'll see more of their personal story and you'll understand. I think you'll get empathetic. But I do think the good thing about histrionic is entertaining. So stay tuned.
Indeed, always. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
The rest of your day.
And you too. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House and Treasury Department are on lockdown after a shooting nearby injured several people, including at least 2 National Guard members, according to multiple reports. The incident happened just blocks away, and ABC News says the suspect was taken away from the scene by ambulance. Earlier this month, a federal judge ruled the Guard's deployment to D.C. was unlawful. Pink slips went out Tuesday to more than 150 senior members of Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams' inner circle. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's transition team told deputy mayors, commissioners, and other top staff they were expected to leave by January 1st. And rapper Nas and DJ Premier are finally dropping their joint album next month. Their long-awaited project, Light Years, arrives December 12th. The two first teased a collab nearly 20 years ago and have worked on it off and on ever since. The album will close out Mass Appeal's Legend Has It series.